So it's no secret that Clemson really struggled in the secondary last year. We were banged up, a lot of injuries, especially at cornerback. I think at one point Nate Wiggins actually emerged as that true number one cornerback that we were desperately looking for. I think he has a lot of potential this year to be a really lockdown guy for us. But that number two cornerback really struggled the entire year. Sheridan Jones was probably the best, but in and out of the lineup. Malcolm Green was hurt pretty much the entire year. Fred Davis was so inconsistent, eventually just transferred, and now he's at UCF. I don't think he'll be missed. And then we had two freshmen, Toriano Bride, Jaden Lucas. I love their potential. I love their upside. But, they went through growing pains last year and definitely got exposed. I don't think neither one of them were ready to go, ready to contribute. And so, moving forward, we're bringing 5 of these guys back at corner. Nate, again, true number one lockdown potential, first, second round potential. Avion Terrell, Trayvon Mullen, Mackenzie Alexander, Cordray. Name the guys that we've had in the past that have been that number one cornerback. I think Nate Wiggins is in that same category. Again, maybe first, probably second round draft pick potential. So you love what you have there. He's going to match up well against pretty much everyone's number one wide receiver. Sheridan Jones, 5th-year guy, athletic. He's got all the tools to be good. This has to be his year. I'm looking for him to have a senior season like Mario Goodrich had a couple years ago, where he really blossomed into that corner that we always thought he was going to be coming out of high school. Eventually, got drafted, now playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Sheridan can have that type of season, which is to say an all ACC type season. That's actually my expectation for him. And then Malcolm, I think, could have a huge addition to our defense that we missed last year. The biggest weakness that we had last year, in my opinion, at least in the secondary, was our nickel. Andrew Makuba definitely took a step back in year 2. He was playing out of position. I think the coaches were pretty much forced to put him in the nickel spot. He's a natural safety, and he just got burned bad. He got exposed a lot last year. South Carolina, Tennessee, especially. He really regressed in year 2, and hopefully, I think with Malcolm Green having a healthy season, he'll be able to man that nickel spot. Makuba can go back to safety in his more natural position. And then, like I mentioned, Jaden Lucas, Toriano Pride, I think they flashed at least. When I watched them on film, they weren't totally out of position. I think both of them ended up getting an interception this past year. So I think potential-wise, they showed enough that they could be elite players. Avion Terrell wasn't a guy who played right away as a freshman. Neither was Trayvon Mullen. Mackenzie Alexander didn't play right away as a true freshman. He redshirted his first year. Eventually, those guys came out in year 2 and showed out, honestly. Avion Terrell, that pick 6 national championship game. Trayvon Mullen, big sophomore year, starting with Ryan Carter. And then Mackenzie Alexander, redshirt freshman, he turned it on that year. Played for the number one defense in the country. So, Toriano Pride, Jaden Lucas, I'm looking for them to make that type of leap. There's guys in front of them, obviously, 5th-year senior and Nate Wiggins, guy who's probably going to be in the NFL next year. So we'll see what happens with them, but I love their potential. I think, those guys have massive potential to be extraordinarily good players for us. So I'm really excited about those 5. And then Miles Oliver, a guy that redshirted last year, redshirt freshman. That leaves 6. And, even if we just had those 6, that's probably still a pretty good cornerback room. But then to add these 3 freshmen that we have are huge. I think Mike Reed definitely hit a home run in this class. Outside of defensive line, I think cornerback might be the best position group that we signed this year. I love the 3 guys that we got. I think we got 3 corners that can play all 3 different spots at corner. So like the way I vision football, sort of like, on each hash you have, if you're on the left hash, the right side of the field is going to be where you would stick your bigger, taller wide receivers, where Clemson would have stuck a guy like T. Higgins or Justin Ross or DeAndre Hopkins in the past. And so with the bigger, taller wide receivers, you want to get bigger, taller cornerbacks, or guys like Avion Terrell that we used to have, 6'2" type guys. And then in the boundary, you want quicker, more athletic type cornerbacks. I can think guys like Ryan Carter that we had in the past. And then in the nickel, I think the emergence of the slot wide receiver, the slot position is such a dangerous weapon today. Clemson fans know Hunter Renfrow, we missed that type of weapon. Antonio Williams was big last year as a true freshman for us, led our team in receiving out of the slot. So the slot is such a major position, and teams are now having to move that corner, get that nickel corner into the game, get them matched up against that slot wide receiver. And I think, honestly, Mike Reed signed all three of those guys. And so we're going to start watching film with the first guy, and that's Avion Terrell. He's the highest rated of these recruits, 4-star out of Georgia. And yeah, let's see his film. So first thing about AJ, if you didn't know, he's actually the younger brother of AJ Terrell, former Clemson great, current Atlanta Falcon, one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL right now. The thing that is obvious on tape with Avion is I think he was knocked for size, and or I should say lack thereof. And when I say obvious, maybe it's just obvious to me. But if Avion was 6'2" like his older brother, I believe he'd be a top 100 recruit. The skill is clearly there. You can definitely tell that he spent plenty of time training with his older brother. He's really tough, physical, just like his older brother was. I would argue that Avion is more athletic than AJ was at this point in their careers, but AJ just had that size edge on him. But you can just see how good Avion was as a wide receiver in high school. I mean, throughout the tape, it's littered through plays of him making at wide receiver. So incredible ball skills, some of the best sets of hands you can see with the cornerback coming out of high school. Good hips, shows the ability to change direction suddenly. Great acceleration, doesn't waste steps before he's full speed. Good tackler in space, something that corners really struggle with when they get into college. Willing tackler in space. You know, to me, Avion comes in packaged, ready to go. He's a kid that can come in out of high school and compete right now. You know, think of Toriano Pride and Jaden Lucas. Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to be a lockdown corner, freshman All-American or anything like that. I think he would go through growing pains, but what I mean is we can go win with him right away. He can come in and compete right away. You know, he's a guy that probably can help us win this year. However, I think we have 5 dudes in front of him that are just really, really good. So I don't really think he's going to play that much. I don't think we'll see him a lot this year, but he's definitely a guy to look out for in that second year. And honestly, again, AJ's similar. AJ didn't play much as a freshman, but really burst onto the scene as a sophomore, pick 6 against Alabama in the Natty. I'll never forget that play. But, you know, I love signing family of NFL players, be it their siblings or their sons. You know, Avion being the younger brother of AJ. We also got linebacker Jamal Anderson, son of former NFL player Jamal Anderson. So, you know, Avion grew up around Clemson's program. You know, he knows the in and out of the program. He knows what effort it takes. He knows what it looks like. Honestly, he's been watching his brother practice at Clemson, prepare at Clemson, you know, play at Clemson, and now prepare and play in the NFL. So he sees it. You know, he sees what it looks like. He sees the effort that he's got to put in. And honestly, I think he's going to do that, right? I think he's a kid that's going to work hard when he gets to the program. And when it's all said and done, I think he's joining his brother in the NFL in the future. I'm not going to say he's as good as AJ Terrell because I don't think that. AJ's bigger. But I think Avion can eventually develop into an NFL cornerback. I like the signing. And yeah, you know, he could have gone anywhere. Certainly glad he came to Clemson. So next cornerback is Branden Strozier. He's that tall guy I was talking about earlier, that cornerback that you really want to match up one-on-one against taller wide receivers, because this kid has all the measurables to be an elite outside cornerback. Again, think AJ Terrell, Trayvon Mullen, 2 guys above 6 feet tall. Long, really athletic cornerback prospect. Another guy just like Avion Terrell that makes plays on film. Played a lot of wide receiver in high school. So you really just have to imagine those ball skills translate to college. You know, cornerbacks always get knocked for having bad hands. So if guys get a lot of reps at wide receiver in high school and show it on film, then hopefully that translates well into college. You know, he's a guy, again, you're going to put him on the outside, match up against bigger, taller wide receivers in that one-on-one situation. But he's also, when you look at him on film, he's surprisingly fast for a guy his size. Honestly, it's impressive to see on tape. He's probably a guy that will ultimately run in that low 4.4 to high 4.4 range. I think he'll be a below 4.5 guy. And at 6'2", I mean, that's incredible speed. You know, so the potential to have that type of size with that type of speed, that's rare. And then, you know, the physicality is going to come along with it. I think he's physical already. He shows that in high school. He uses his size pretty well. But I think the weight room needs to be his best friend when he gets to college. I think he's a guy that has to physically develop more muscle mass to his already long frame become even more physical, impose your will because you're going to be a big cornerback. Use that to your advantage. And, I think the weight room, again, is going to be his best friend. But, long, really athletic prospect, great ball skills, can really, really run with his size. He simply checks all the boxes and what you're looking for in a great cornerback. I think he definitely has to work on his technique more than Avion does. I think Avion's a more polished cornerback. Technique is definitely there. He's also had the privilege of training with an NFL player right now, or at least living with one, where Branden Strozier, I don't think, had that same advantage. So technique-wise, he's got a lot to learn, but get in the playbook, get the technique right. Eventually, you can develop into a really, really, really good cornerback. And so I can't wait. Huge potential in this kid. Mike Reed definitely has a project. Can't wait to see how he turns out. Last cornerback, the actually criminally underrated Shelton Lewis. How this kid isn't a 4-star recruit is beyond me, and you're going to see exactly what I mean on tape. So let's get to Shelton Lewis, the guy I'm honestly most excited about of these corners. I don't even know how the scouts rated this many corners ahead of him. He's rated in the 600s, 3-star. To me, his tape is special. I try to be objective, and I don't really see many weaknesses on tape. This kid has legit track speed. He won a state track championship in the state of Georgia. So obviously the speed is there. You can see hips, feet, really, really smooth, change of direction, can really switch his hips and run. Tremendous footwork out of his stance. I think he's very instinctual on film. When he sees screen, he reads it right away, closes in with his speed. So, the ability to diagnose plays early at the high school level is really going to translate well into college. The ball skills are obviously there. Just like Avion and Strozer, he has, lots of tape of him making incredible plays as an offensive wide receiver. So, playmaker, going to be a cornerback for us. So, he's the type of guy, just like Strozer and Avion, if he gets his hand on the ball, he's going to come down with interception. Also, willing tackler, so physical player, you love to see that. But, I really, really, really just like this kid. To me, he's the best on tape. He's a guy that, in my opinion, has the best chance to play as a freshman because I think he fits that nickel spot perfect. I really do. And I think Malcolm Green is eventually going to start that nickel spot for us. But Shelton Lewis can come in and be that number 2 nickel corner. I think he can play early for us. I think he's further ahead than Strozer and even Avion are, which is crazy to sound, given the fact that he was the lowest rated of these cornerback prospects. But, he's already on campus, and that's also going to give him a huge boost. He was practicing back in December for the lead up to the Tennessee game. And based off what the coaches have said, he's going to be a problem. Fast, twitchy, and, just an overall playmaker. And, he's a guy that, again, I think he fits that nickel spot, but, he can also play the boundary against quicker athletic wide receivers. On tape in high school, you can see the physicality. So even though he's an undersized kid, he's under 6 feet tall, probably 5'10", he can still match up physically with these taller wide receivers. So huge upside on this kid. One of my favorite recruits in this class. I can't believe he's listed as a 3-star. I think this kid can honestly be really, really special. But those are our 3 signees: Avion Terrell, Branden Strozier, Shelton Lewis. I'm excited that Shelton's already on campus. We'll get to see him in the spring game. I'll be at the spring game, and he's one of the guys I'm definitely going to be looking for. Avion Strozier be arriving in the summer. That cornerback room, 9 players. It's really deep. It got a lot better. Good mix of veterans with Sheridan, Malcolm, and Sheridan, Malcolm, and Nate Wiggins. Wow, that almost slipped me. And then second-year guys, 200 pride, Jade Lucas, need to make a huge jump. And then Miles Oliver, redshirted, and now these 3 freshmen coming in, 4 freshmen. Yeah, really excited about this group. Mike Reed, you got a talented group in front of you. Let's get them better. We need to make a huge improvement. We need to see a massive improvement at cornerback. This needs to be probably outside of linebacker because of Carter and Simpson. Wow. Carter and Trotter Jr. Cornerback needs to be our best group. Man, defensive tackle. I'm forgetting so many things right now. Defensive tackle, right? Yeah, of course. Defensive tackle and linebackers. Those should be our best groups on defense. Outside of them, it should definitely be cornerback. We have to make a huge leap in the back seven this year. It just wasn't good enough last year. It was honestly pathetic in some games. We just can't have that happen. We only lost Trenton Simpson, and so to get all these players back, Barrett Carter, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Wade Woodaz, to get back our entire secondary, literally didn't lose anybody. I guess Fred Davis does count. He did transfer, but he was really a non-factor last year anyways. That back seven has to be really, really good for us this year. We just have to make this huge leap in year two under Wes Goodwin. The talent's there. There's no excuses for him this year. We can't make the excuse of this is your first year as a play caller. This is your first year as an on-field coach. Those excuses are done. Year two, have to make a huge leap. We need a top 15, top 10 defense like we're accustomed to. And if we can, this team can obviously compete for a national title. I can't wait for the season to finally get here, and I know you all can't as well. So, it'll be here soon enough. Go Tigers.